Discussion. So, good afternoon, class, and thank you for attending my lecture this afternoon. So, for this afternoon class, we will be discussing your RBC indices. So, the first thing you need to know, class, whenever you deal with your indices is the hematocrit. Now, your hematocrit class, this refers to your packed cell volume. Now, when you say packed cell volume, these are compressed from the word pack. Compressed RBCs. Compressed RBCs. Now, your hematocrit refers to the ratio of the volume of RBC to that of whole blood. Class, when you say whole blood, what is the composition of your whole blood, class? Any idea? When you hear the word whole blood, anong laman yan? Whole blood. Sa Tagalog, buong dugo. Alright. RBC, WBC platelets, and ano pa? May isa pa. RBC, WBC platelet, plasma. Yes, meron pa. Isa pa. You forgot the most important thing for them to be called whole blood.
Red blood cell?
No, it's not a part of the cellular elements. Any idea, class? So your whole blood, class, is composed of your cellular elements and liquid elements. Now, aside from that, meron pa. No, it's not protein. It's your anticoagulant. Okay? Anticoagulant. Whenever sa laboratory, class, may encounter nyo, the specimen is whole blood. The specimen is whole blood. This refers to your blood with anticoagulant. With anticoagulant. And typically, sa hematology, this is your EDTA tube. Okay? So sabi dito, this is the ratio of the volume of RBC. Class, whenever you hear the word volume, what does that mean? Volume, class. Volume. Mula high school hanggang ngayon, naririnig niyo yan. What does the word volume mean? Okay, the mass of the solvent. Okay. Alright, it refers to the amount. So sabi dito, ratio of the volume of RBC to that of whole blood. Class, to simplify this refers, hematocrit is the amount of RBC, kindly write this down, amount of RBC to your whole blood. Intindihan? Ulitin ko, class, your whole blood is composed of the liquid portion of the blood, which is the plasma, as well as the cellular elements, which are your WBC, RBC, and platelets. Now, if this is in vitro, you have anticoagulant as well. Okay. Now, volume of the RBC, now, that refers to the amount of RBC present in your whole blood. Yun, ha? Again, hematocrit refers to the amount of RBC to your whole blood. Now, your hematocrit, class, is expressed as percentage, but it is preferably expressed in decimal, 0.00. So, class, pag tinanong anong itsura ng value ng hematocrit nyo, it should be in decimal. It should always be 0.001, 002, and so on. 001. Now, this measures the proportion of RBC to plasma in the peripheral blood, but not the entire circulation. Di ba sabi ko, class, si hematocrit nyo, yan yung number of RBC, amount of RBC sa full blood nyo. Now, sinasabi dito, hindi daw siya kasali sa entire circulation. Bakit? Bakit hindi kasali sa entire circulation? Only sa peripheral blood. What are involved in your entire blood circulation, class? Ano ang involved sa entire blood circulation? What is involved when it comes to your entire blood circulation? Can anyone tell me? Wala. Come on. Okay, sige. Para hindi kayo malito, unahin natin itong peripheral blood. Class, peripheral blood, where do you get your peripheral blood? Saan ito nakikita? When you say peripheral blood, what type of specimen is this? Peripheral blood class. Anong specimen to? Any ideas? Peripheral blood. What specimen is involved in your peripheral blood? Wala. Come on. Tatlong klase lang naman, di ba, ang dugo ng specimen nyo, blood specimen. No, Miss Marte, I'm talking about the specimen. Okay, so it's your venous blood class. So sabi dito, si hematocrit nyo is the amount of RBC to whole blood found in your peripheral blood. So sa venous blood. But not in the entire circulation. So babalik ko yung tanong, what is involved in your entire circulation? What type of specimen is involved in your entire circulation? Class, blood circulation. Come on, I've already discussed this in ano ba yung mga klaseng specimens natin, blood specimens natin? Di ba tatlo yun? Okay, we have your arterial blood, your venous blood, and venous blood. Now, ang question ko dito, class, do we use arterial blood sa laboratory? Specifically sa CBC, yes or no? Do we use arterial blood? No, di ba? That is why your hematocrit does not incorporate the total amount sa buong circulation. Only in the peripheral blood because we use venous blood when it comes to hematocrit measurement. Naintindihan? Ulitin ko, class, ha? The reason why your hematocrit refers to the proportion of RBC in the peripheral blood is because we only use venous blood when measuring hematocrit. While when you say entire circulation, it involves arterial blood as well, which we do not use in hematocrit testing. Right? Now, the ratio of total RBC mass to the total blood volume is called your body hematocrit. Now, your body hematocrit is lower than venous hematocrit. Ratio of venous hematocrit to body hematocrit is 1 to 2.9. Class, I have a question. Bakit sa tingin nyo, mas lower daw si venous hematocrit kesa kay body hematocrit? Again, ulitin natin. Anong tingin nyong involved sa body hematocrit? What type of specimen? Talking about body hematocrit. So, okay. Now, tama si Ms. Torres. Now, your arterial blood class, your arterial blood. Let's talk about your arterial blood. Does your arterial blood have plenty of oxygen? Yes or no? Does your arterial blood contain a lot of oxygen? Is it saturated with oxygen? Yes. Now, if a single red blood cell is full of oxygen, ito ang tanong ko ha, if a single red blood cell is full of oxygen, can it be equivalent to 2 venous red blood cell? Yes or no? Can a single arterial RBC be equivalent to 2? Alright, very good. It's yes. Kasi remember class, your arterial blood is highly saturated. So kayang-kaya niyang gawin yung trabaho ng dalawang venous RBC. Remember, your venous RBC contains deoxygenated. It is not saturated. Hindi siya ganun ka-saturated. So there has to be plenty of RBC. That is the reason why, class, your body hematocrit is lower because it only needs smaller amounts of RBC. Smaller amounts of RBC. Because the RBCs in it are saturated with oxygen. While compared to your venous hematocrit, which only contains very few oxygen, it requires more RBC, thus causing an increase in your hematocrit. Naintindihan? Ulitin ko, class, ha? Your body hematocrit is composed of your arterial blood. Now, your arterial blood contains very saturated RBCs with oxygen. Thus, it only needs smaller amount of RBC. Smaller amount of RBC. Leading to decreased hematocrit. While your venous blood is not that saturated with oxygen. Thus, it needs a lot increased RBC. Leading to increased hematocrit. Naintindihan? Naintindihan, class? Okay, sige, naintindihan ko kung brown. No worries. Naintindihan, class, o nalito? Okay. So remember the ratio of venous hematocrit to body hematocrit is 1:0.9. So hindi naman ganun kalaki yung difference, class. It's actually less by 0.1. The reason for that is because syempre when you're talking about body hematocrit, tatlong klase yan. You have your capillary, venous, and arterial. So may arterial blood ka pa rin involved. Alright? Now let's proceed to the next. Now, these are the clinical importance of hematocrit determination. It gives a rough estimate of the size of RBC and the concentration of RBCs, but not the whole red cell mass. It is used in the calculation of the blood indices. The Buffy coat obtained from the hematocrit tube has numerous uses. I'll show you the Buffy coat later. Hematocrit is a good simple screening test for anemia. Less error than RBC count, thus very reliable in examination. So class, remember, di ba, ang hematocrit is the amount of RBC. So remember, in your anemia, there is decreased hemoglobin or decreased RBC. So if you have decreased RBC, most likely you also have decreased hematocrit. Mamaya I'll show you how to compute for the blood indices using your hematocrit. Now, here's an example, class, of what we call the Winthrop tube. Winthrop tube. Also known as your hematocrit tube. Now, after centrifugation, it will produce 3 layers. Parang katulad sa test sa EDTA sa mga tubes. First, we have the liquid component, which is your plasma. Then there is a thick creamy layer here, a thick white creamy layer, known as the buffy coat. Now, si buffy coat nyo class is composed of WBC and platelets. Then we have the so-called red blood cell, packed red blood cell area. So ito siya. Packed cell volume. This is the basis of your hematocrit. Ganyan siya. So I will teach you class how to measure hematocrit sa midterms yun, sa laboratory. So if you notice sa picture, very tightly packed yung hematocrit niyo. Ayan siya. Any questions? Okay. Alright, class. When determining indices, we have your so-called rule of 3. Now, itong rule of 3 na to, class, ginagamit ito whenever you have doubts, nagdududa ka sa automated result mo. So, this is a quick manual method of identifying or knowing your hemoglobin, hematocrit, or RBC. And can be done when you're having doubts with automated result. But remember, class, the rule of 3 only applies to normocytic and normochromic RBCs. I'll discuss that later. Now, the rule of 3 follows. Hematocrit is equal to hemoglobin times 3. Let's say, class, na hindi mo alam yung hematocrit ng patient, pero alam mo yung hemoglobin. Now, using the hemoglobin, you multiply it by 3, that is your hematocrit. But remember, there is a rule. A rule of plus minus 3. So let's, I'll explain this in the example. So here we have a case. Your hemoglobin is 12, your hematocrit is 0.36. Remember, class, di ba? Ang hematocrit nyo should be in decimal. Now, I have a question. Is this problem correct? Yes or no? Tama ba siya? Tama ba yung rule of 3 dito? Is this correct? Yes or no? Hematocrit is equal to hemoglobin times 3. So, if your hemoglobin is 12 class, you multiply this by 3, you get 36. So this is correct. Yes. Now, following the rule of plus minus 3, pag tinanong kayo ng what is the acceptable value in the range, it is 0.33 to 0.39. Sir, bakit naging 0.33 at bakit naging 0.39? Remember, your value is 0.36. Now, plus 3, you have 0.39. Minus 3, you have 0.33. So if your value of your hemoglobin comes within this range, then it is acceptable. Intindihan? So let's say ang lumabas dito, class, 0.35. Is this still acceptable? Yes or no? Pag lumabas 0.35 class sa machine, is this yes or no? Acceptable pa rin? Yes. Kasi pasok siya dun sa rule na plus minus 3. Halimbawa kasi ganito yung class. Ang lumabas sa machine mo, hemoglobin 9. Ang lumabas sa hematocrit na machine is 39. Is this acceptable? Tama ba to? Yes or no? No. Because when you do the checking via the rule of 3, 9 times 3, it should be 0.27. And following the rule of plus minus 3, the acceptable range should be 24.24 to 0.30. So sobrang layo ng 39. So, anong gagawin mo pag ganyan? You have to check the blood smear. So, mamaya iyan. Okay, so I hope you understand. Okay, let's check the second problem. Okay, here's another problem. Hemoglobin is 9, hematocrit is 0.32. Is this correct? Yes or no? Okay, it's no. What is the acceptable range value, class? What is the acceptable range value? Okay, so it should be 0.24, 0.30. So, ang layo ng 0.32. So, mali. How about this one, class? Hemoglobin is 15, hematocrit is 0.36. Is this correct? Yes or no? Again, it's no. Bakit? What should be the hematocrit, class? What should be the hematocrit? It should be 0.45, di ba? What is the acceptable range now? Can you tell me the acceptable range? Okay, it should be 0.42 to 0.48. Very good. So, nag-gets nyo na. Now, balik tayo dun sa sinasabi ko. Now, if it does not match, hindi nagtutugma yung nasa automated machine mo at sa manual checking mo ng rule of 3, what you will do, you will check the blood smear for abnormal RBCs. Are there hypochromic cells? Are there microcytic cells? Are there macrocytic cells? Are there hyperchromic cells? Then you also check for lipemia. Class, when you say lipemia, what does this mean? Lipemia. That's lipemia. You have polycythemia, which is plenty of cells in the blood. What is lipemia? Lipemia. Okay, it's lipids in the blood. Increased lipids in the blood. Ang itsura niyan, class, pag sinentrifuge mo yung blood, halimbawa ako, kinunan mo ko ng dugo, mataba ako, tapos hindi ako nag-fasting, as in kakakain ko lang. When you check the plasma of the patient, it will contain fats. Yellow jelly fats. Sa phlebotomy class to class dati, nakakita na kayo ng gano'n. Hindi kayo nakakita. So this can interfere with your hematocrit. Causing a falsely decreased hematocrit. Yun ang gagawin. Now, another rule of 3, di ba, class, your hematocrit is equal to hemoglobin times 3. Now, sir, paano kung walang hemoglobin? Let's say, class, sa problem nyo, walang hemoglobin na present. You have to get it via the rule of 3. Now, if given naman ang RBC count nyo, hemoglobin is equal to RBC count in SI times. Okay. So ito, class, ang dalawang formula na tatandaan nyo when it comes to the rule of 3. Your rule of 3 is just used for checking. Pang-check nyo lang talaga yan, class, if tama talaga yung hemoglobin hematocrit. Now, let's proceed now to your Rbc indices. It is the quantitative measurement of Rbc, the amount and concentration of hemoglobin. So dito, class, sa indices nyo, you compute for the size of the Rbc and the hemoglobin content and their hemoglobin content. Yan ang kinocompute nyo sa Rbc indices. It was first introduced by Winthrop in 1929 to define the size of RBC via MCV and hemoglobin content via MCH and MCHC. Now, your key terms. Ito na yung class. Your MCV means mean cell volume. It is the measurement of the average volume of RBC. It is expressed in femtoliters. So don't forget the unit, ha? Femtoliters, FL. Next, we have your mean cell hemoglobin. It is the measurement of the average weight of hemoglobin in individual RBCs. Plus, when you say mean cell hemoglobin, individual, I would like to emphasize, measurement of hemoglobin in individual RBCs, expressed in picogram. Then we have your mean cell hemoglobin concentration. This is the amount of hemoglobin in the entire sample. In the entire sample. It is expressed in grams per dl. Then we have your red cell distribution. It is a measure of variability of the RBC size. It estimates RBC size variation expressed in percentage. So ulitin ko class ha, si MCV nyo, ang unit niya is femtoliters. Si MCH, picograms, also known as PG. MCHC is grams per dl. And RDW, percentage. So these are the importance of your RBC indices. To classify RBC by their volume and hemoglobin content. So class, when you say size ng RBC, how would you report a normal size RBC class? Anong tawag sa kanila? How would you call a normal RBC? Normal size RBC. Based sa discussion natin sa hemoglobin last time. What do you call, no, it's not a drepanocyte. No. That's a big RBC. What do you call a normal RBC class? No, it's not a big, no, it's not lipid. It's not as ito. It's your normocytic. Yeah, very good, Mr. Lara. It's normocytic. How would you call a big RBC? A big RBC class. How would you call them? It's macrocytic. Then I have a question. What do you call a cell, a normal cell, a cell with normal amounts of hemoglobin? Ang tawag sa kanila. A cell with normal amounts of hemoglobin. Come on, class. Kaya natin to. Come on, normal hemoglobin content. Normo, what? Normochromic, yes. How would you call a RBC with decreased hemoglobin content? Yan, microchromic class, microchromic ilagay niya. A cell with decreased hemoglobin content. What do you call that? Yes, it's anemic yung but what do you call the cell itself? Search with the letter H. Uy, kakadiscuss lang natin to sa RBC sa lesson 4 last time. Okay, it's hypochromic class. Di ba nga may mga hypochromasia? Pag chromasia sa staining niya, pale siya. Class, anong itsura ng hypochromic cell nyo? What does your hypochromic RBC look like? Since decrease yung hemoglobin niya, what does it look like? No, that's microcytic. Pag shrink, it's pale. So yun ang importance ng RBC nyo, class indices. It can help you identify it is normocytic, normochromic, microcytic, or hypochromic. Ganun. It suggests how RBCs appear microscopically. And lab professionals correlate indices with hematocrit, hemoglobin, and RBC count. Okay, let's proceed now to your formula. Now, the formula for your MCV is hematocrit times 1,000. This is the decimal class to, decimal to, baka malito kaya. Times 1,000 divided by RBC count. So, ang normal values niya, class, is 80 to 100. So, if it is less than 80, ang MCV mo, the cell is microcytic. If it is greater than 100, the cell is classified as macrocytic. So, hematocrit times 1,000 divided by RBC. Next, we have your MCH. MCH is equal to hemoglobin times 10 divided by the RBC in SI. Normal value is 27 to 33 picograms. Increase ang MCH mo with vitamin B12 deficiency, folic acid deficiency, reticulocytosis, hemolytic anemia, and alcoholism. Decrease ang MCH mo in iron deficiency anemia, thalassemia, and anemia of chronic disorder. Again, MCH is equal to hemoglobin times 10 divided by the RBC. Then we have your MCHC, hemoglobin times 100 divided by hematocrit. Hematocrit in whole number. In whole number. Not in decimal, ha? So kung 0.10 yun, you turn it into 10. Hemoglobin times 100, hematocrit in whole number. So if it's decimal, you make it whole number. So kung 0.10, gawin mong 10. Kung 0.11, you make it 11. So normal value is 33 to 36 grams per DL. Normochromic siya. If less than 33, hypochromic. Greater than 36, hyperchromic. So pag hypochromic siya, class, area of central pallor is 1/3 of the cell size. Hyperchromic are seen in your spirocytes. So these are big cells. Okay, we have a problem here, class. Let's analyze this. A 21-year-old patient complained of fatigue, diarrhea, and weight loss. CBC was done and the following results came out. Your RBC is 3.0. Your hemoglobin is 8. Your MCV is 62, MCH 19, MCHC 30. WBC 5.30, platelets 100. What is the clinical impression on the findings based on the indices? Class, ang MCV nyo, decrease, normal, or increase? Decrease, normal, or increase? Okay, so it's decrease. Very good, Miss Ocarisa. So it's decrease. Now, When your MCB is decreased, what is the appearance of your cell?
Micros.
Very good. It's microcytic. Stem ka sa langit, Miss Reka. Now, how about your MCH class? Is it decrease, normal, or increase? Is it decrease, normal, or increase? Based on the normal values I've given. Okay, it's decrease. How about your MCHC? Is it decrease, normal, or increase? Very good, it's decrease. Therefore, what is the appearance of your cell with a decreased MCHC? Hypochromic. So the cell is hypochromic. Okay. Therefore, your clinical impression on this is microcytic, hypochromic, hypochromic cells. Naintindihan? Okay, nag-gets class kung bakit naging microcytic, hypochromic? Magbe-base ka lang ng microcytic, normocytic, macrocytic sa MCB. Yung hypochromic, normochromic, hyperchromic sa MCHC. So, dapat memorize nyo yung normal values. Let's proceed to another problem. How about this one, class? What is the clinical impression on this one? Tingnan. Tingnan natin kung nag-gets nyo. What type of cells would you see sa ganitong result? What are the clinical impression on the findings based on your indices? Okay, very good, Ms. Johnson. So let's analyze. Bakit macrocytic hyperchromic? Your MCB, increase or decrease? Increase. Therefore, you have a macrocytic cell. Your MCH, decrease, increase. Okay, it's increase. How about your MCHC, increase or decrease? Increase. I have a question, class. Okay, so increase, therefore it's hyperchromic. Class, I have a question. What if ganito ang MCH nyo? 28. Is it still macrocytic hyperchromic? Your MCH became 28, which is normal. Pero ang MCHC nyo, mataas pa din. Do you retain your answer or babaguhin mo? Come on, ideas class. Do you retain it or do you change it? Is it still macrocytic hyperchromic or do you change it? Common class, wala. Do you? Alright, very good, Miss Chongson. You actually base it only on the MCV and MCHC. Kapag itong MCH nyo class hindi nakisama sa value ng MCHC, you will still base this on MCHC. Miss Chongson, bakit? Anong meron si MCH? Anong sabi ko kanina regarding kay MCH? This measures what? Your MCH measures what, class? Your MCH measures, alright, the weight of individual hemoglobin. Individual, class. Ibig sabihin, baka isa or dalawa lang. While your MCHC measures the entire hemoglobin of the entire sample. Buong sample. So this is more reliant ang MCHC compared sa MCH. Okay? Okay, here's another problem. Go. 71-year-old patient complained of mental lethargy and soreness of the feet. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so what's the clinical impression? Ooh. Ano na, class? What's your clinical impression? Dapat yung iba, Miss Monsanto, Miss Manilong, Miss Ocampo, Miss Magaysay, Mr. Uso, Miss Malinaw, Miss Licarde, Miss Marte, Nakilan. Come on, natawa to rest. It's your microcytic hypochromic. Okay. Sa analyze. Bakit siya microcytic hypochromic? So your MCB class, increase. Increase. Doon pa lang, microcytic na. How about your MCHC? Increase din. Therefore, you have microcytic hypochromic. Okay. So, punta na tayo class sa RDW niyo. So, your RDW class is equal to ST divided by the mean times 100. So, normally, hindi natin ito ginagawa manually. This is done by the machine itself. So, the normal value is 11.6 to 14.6. Now, kapag ang value ng RDW nyo is less than 11.6 or greater than 14.6, it is expected that there will be different RBC shapes in the blood smear. So, dyan yun na makikita yung mga drepanocyte, mga target cells kapag hindi pasok sa normal values yung RDW. But you do not manually compute this usually. Kasi ito palang SD, this refers to your standard deviation. So, madami kang i-compute to get that. Then you have your mean pa. So magkukuha kayo ng data. Okay, class, let's take a look at this cell. This one. This one. What cell type is this? Clinical impression. Solan. Sir Pabalolo. Mas makilang. Come on, now what the rest? What? So it's macrocytic. Are you sure it's hyperchromic? Remember, look at the central area. Laki. So tama ka sa macrocytic. So it's actually hypochromic. Now this is the appearance of your macrocytic normochromic. This is a macrocytic normochromic. Then this is the appearance of your macrocytic hyperchromic. So parang ang liit na lang ng central pallor, parang gano'n na lang siya. So this is a macrocytic hyperchromic. Macrocytic hyperchromic. How about this one, class? Let's take a look at this. Itong cell na to. What's your impression on this one? So ito muna. Bakit hyperchromic? So ang laki ng butas. It's hypochromic. Very faint. Pag nakikita niya na sobrang laki ng central area niya, it's hypochromic. And this is normocytic. Normal yan. Normal cell. So ituturo ko sa inyo yung class, don't worry sa midterms na. This is your microcytic. Yan yung microcytic na class. Sobrang liit naman. Hanap tayo ng macrocytic na hypochromic. So this could be considered a macrocytic hypochromic. May mga microcytic dyan. Mga normochromic. Halo-halo. Okay. So that ends our RBC indices. Naintindihan nyo, class? So I still have a couple of problems I want you to solve.